Yo, 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 it's your girl and boy CT. I'm Cindy Barnes.
And I'm Travis Barnes.
And we are the founders of the Overcomers Podcast.
Sponsored by Journey 333. That is a place of mind, body, spirit that helps you with fitness, coaching, and nutrition to look better, live better, and feel better. We produce these episodes every week for your enjoyment to help people to overcome adversity and live their dreams. Hello, Overcomer Nation. That's right. I'm talking to you because if you're listening in, then you are an overcomer. The Overcomers Podcast is sponsored by Journey 333. That's a place of fitness, coaching, and nutrition, mind, body, spirit, where we help you to look better, live better, and feel better. Today, I got somebody who's helping people to do just that. And he's coming at you all the way from Australia, David Lindsay. Yeah, so David is a black belt. So he comes to us as a black belt. He had a career as a professional rugby player. Most importantly, as a personal trainer and life coach, he is helping people to apply what he learned in the world as a professional athlete into their business and into their lives, helping them to increase productivity, increase performance. And I believe that by having him as a guest on the show, he's going to do just that for you today. So David, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Travis. I really appreciate the fact that you're giving me this opportunity to talk to your guys, because I believe wholeheartedly in what you guys are doing. It's about overcoming adversities, because we've all been through it, whether you think it or not. No one has the perfect life. We all have these little obstacles that can either stop you or can propel you forward. So like you mentioned in the intro, I used to be an athlete. I put everything into it. Everything into rugby league, and at the ripe old age of 22, I had to retire due to a couple of knee reconstructions. So you can imagine that putting everything into it, your blood, sweat, tears, years of your life, and it all of a sudden coming to an end, that's an instant black mark against, well, perceived black mark. Yeah. And that's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to your perception. But
yeah, was that one of the first major adversities that you had in your life, having to have something that was your dream, that you were so passionate about, that you were essentially living your dream, and then somebody says to you, hey, you don't get to live that dream anymore. Was that one of the first major adversities that you had to kind of overcome with changing your mindset about life and looking at it from a different angle? Yeah,
100%. That was the first. Like, you have many junctions in your life where if you go one way or you go the other, your life turns out drastically different. And one of mine was deciding to go to what rugby league team. I ended up going to South Sydney Rabbitohs, even though I'm a Cronulla junior. And I know that doesn't mean much for you guys over there, but it's just going to different districts to play there. And that's where the first fork in my life went. And then playing for South Sydney and meeting some great guys, some guys that went on to play for New South Wales in the state of origin, played with guys that played for Australia as well. But for that to be pulled from underneath you, you're left in this void of, what do I do now? I put everything into it. And one of the people that I know that I used to play football with, he went severely one way. He got depressed. And went down that road. Was still being 22, you're still a young kid at that point. And I was lucky enough a guy picked me up to do arm wrestling. So actually trained to do some professional arm wrestling as well.
Wow, that's cool. I think of Sylvester Stallone and Over the Top with that one. That was like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I'm sure I probably got some young folks listening to that saying, Sylvester Stallone did what?
Arm wrestling. Yeah, and it's funny, I've never actually seen that, but when I talk about that, people go, oh, what about Over the Top? What about this? But what that did as well was that gave me something to strive for, because my knee, like back now, it's perfectly normal. But in that instant, that 6 months, 12 months, where it's a little bit dodgy, when I gave up rugby league, I was still a big guy. And so I got into arm wrestling, and I was doing really well at arm wrestling until I was on my way. I was actually on my way to America to go in some professional tournaments over there. But mucking around with a mate in a bar in Corfu, I snapped my arm. I snapped my humerus.
Oh, wow. Snapped it.
Yeah, it just went, it was a loud noise.
Yeah. Jeez.
And yeah,
I mean, the
and
snap, I mean, that's a big bone that you snapped. That's
yeah,
that must have
it
been
was,
intense.
oh, it was crazy. It was using completely wrong technique. Like I turned my body instead of getting behind and doing it. Like I got the guy all the way down, but he had his wrist locked open. So if it was on a table, I would have beaten him anyway because you have the little post you have to get to. But I turned my body and it just went boom. And it was a loud noise.
So time number 2, though, think about that, you know, so you're living your dream as a professional rugby player. You know, you get to do what you love, and then you have, you know, your knee reconstruction, and, you know, that's just not an option anymore. So now you funnel your passion into arm wrestling. You're getting ready to come to America to compete. Yeah. And then this happens. So where did that leave you? I mean, you know, how were you feeling at that moment in time?
Yeah, that was probably lower than when I had to give up rugby league, because when I came back to Australia, I was lucky enough for my doctor to organise me to get surgery straight away. And then what happened when they put the plate in my arm, they hit a nerve and my arm completely dropped. So I had no use of my arm at all.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, so
no longer functional. I mean, yeah. Oh, wow. So you lose total use. How did you ever get it back?
And well, that's a little journey in itself as well, where like I was heartbroken. I went and got a nerve conduction study. And with that, they put needles in your arm to see how the nerves are firing and make sure that they're firing. And the result came back that the nerves are shriveling up. Mm. And like as an athlete, and by that stage as well, I was a coach and trainer as well. You sort of go, okay, that's not just my sporting life, but my career as well as a gym supervisor, manager, and trainer. Mm-hmm. And that I went into a real dark place with that one. That was worse than the knee. But then eventually over time, I did everything I could. I did homeopathy. I did all these weird sort of, you know, way from left field, way from right field sort of stuff. I was willing to do anything to get it back. Mm-hmm. And then eventually after 4 months, I got a little bit of movement. And I was so excited by that. I called up at the time my girlfriend, I called up my parents, I called up all these people. And it's funny, who was my girlfriend over in Corfu, where I ruined our round the world trip, is now my wife. So wow. In that side of things, it was a happy ending, and we have a lovely little daughter as well. So
that's really amazing, you know, because I just want to ask you something about that story. Is that, you know, I've been contemplating this a lot lately. We have a family member who's gone through some nerve damage, and you know, nerve damage is well, you don't know if you'll ever get it back, right? You know, so you might stop being able to use a certain limb, or whether it be that you're not walking right, or in your case, the arm. And there's just different perspectives. You said, I was trying anything and everything. And after 4 months, I got a little bit of movement. And I was so excited I had to call everybody, you know, right? So, yeah. I mean, what do you think it is about your mindset? I mean, can you tell us a little bit about how your mindset might be different from someone who just accepts, like, I guess I'll never be able to use that again? You know, like, you know, what was it that you were telling yourself or really empowering yourself with to still have hope that one day, you know, maybe you'd get a little bit of movement and want to call everybody about it, right? I mean, yeah, what was going on there?
I think what it is like I'm stubborn. I'm not going to let, like, and it was the same when I was playing rugby league, when I was fighting arm wrestling. I'm not going to let people get over top of me. I'm not going to let what is a little injury, well, a perception, a little injury, get over the top of me. I'm going to do absolutely everything I can. It doesn't matter if it takes 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. I know that there's going to be an end to it. And I know that, you know, there's going to be something positive to come from it. Because every incident in my life has, you know, Steve Jobs says it great, that you can't see the dots looking forward, but you can see them looking backward.
Yeah. So yeah, very good.
Yeah, so every little thing, like that was 15 years or so ago now when I broke my arm, or even a little bit longer. But looking back, I can see how that sent me in another direction. Like I said, choosing south over Cronulla sent me in that direction. Having my knee reconstruction sent me in that direction. Breaking my arm sent me in another direction. So it's
do you look at life that way, David? Do you look at it that way? Do you like say, how is life happening for me instead of to me? Like, are you the type of person that says on the other side of this is going to be something great, another direction that I'm meant to go? Do you feel that? I mean, is that part of who you are?
It is. It very much is, but it's not always that way. Everyone gets those negative things going in their head, and it's a human nature for us to think of the worst. Like you probably have it before, where in your mind you're building up all of this negative situation, when really the end result is just a person goes, fine. Like we all do it. We all look at these negative side of things, and not just the negative reality, we blow it up way out of proportion. So it's about being able to catch yourself when you're thinking about that and go, there's positive to everything. I believe absolutely everything that happens, there's positive to it. And it can be the worst thing, because I had a conversation with a guy, and they go, well, what about when someone dies? Mm-hmm. And I go, well, from your perspective, if you die, well, then really that's it. We don't want that. But then you look, if that person there died, were they in pain? Mm-hmm. What was the end result that got them to there? And it's a thing where you just have to look. Whenever there's a cloud, there's always that silver lining.
That's right.
What are you concentrating on? Are you concentrating on the cloud, or are you looking for that silver lining? And lightning can be that silver lining.
Very good.
In Australia, we need lightning for our bush to regenerate. We need bushfires to open the seeds, open the pods of all of our native plants to have that regeneration.
Yeah. A favorite saying of mine, a favorite quote is that you find what you look for. And so what are you looking for? Are you looking for the silver lining, or are you looking for, the cloud itself or whatever? Really good, really good. Let me ask you, you're such an athlete. You got the rugby and you got the arm wrestling and just different things. Where did the Wing Chun black belt come in? Was that something that you already had prior to your career as a rugby player, or did that come later on? Okay.
No, that was even after the arm wrestling.
Oh.
So I broke my arm, and then I got the movement back, and I was still around 23 at that point, 23, 24. And I'm still competitive to this very day. And where I did my training certificate, there was a Wing Chun school directly across the road. And I was talking about it, because, with training, you do a lot of it in the morning and a lot of it in the afternoon. So in the middle of the day, I had that part free. So I decided to take that step up and visit that school to see, it's just something about it sparked my interest. And I went up and I did a couple of trial classes, and I loved it. And then I was going there for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. And then I was building momentum, because that's what everything's about, is you have momentum going one way or going the other.
If you don't mind, I'd really like to highlight what you just said. Some of the people that are listening, they're trainers like yourself. Some are fitness enthusiasts. Some might not even really have fitness on their mind. But and David was just describing was, he said, so training, personal training, here's how it works. Our clients typically need us before work or after work, right? And so then we have this time in the middle of the day. But that's a unique perspective. Let me ask you right now, to all of our listeners, if you were working a split shift where you had to, wake up and go to work in the morning, and then you were going to come back in the late afternoon, evening, in order to train some more people, because this is your split shift, would you look for the opportunity of what can I do in the middle of the day to better myself, right? I mean, because that's an important thing too, to see opportunities, right? You said, well, in the middle of the day, I'm working in the morning and I'm working in the evening. What can I do in the middle of the day to better myself? So seeing the opportunities, really, I mean, that's really great. And so then you really just got into it. and you were investing more and more time in the middle of your day. And did you end up competing in that realm?
Yeah, so I went and spoke to one of my coaches and go, man, I'm like, my competitive juices are going. I love coming and doing the classes, but I want that bit more. Because I was sparring every day, I was doing the classes, I was rolling, doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And I went, I want to really test my skills out. I want to see how I go against a different form, a different school. So I went, all right, leave it with me. And so I competed in some jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he goes, what we're going to do, we're going to set a plan. And that's the same as with things in life. You know, you don't just go haphazard about things. You need to have that end goal to know that you're pointing in the right direction. Because a lot of people, they don't have that, and they wonder why they're not getting anywhere. Because one day they're going this way, one day they're going that way, and they're just spinning their wheels, really. So we set up a plan, and I got into MMA, into cage fighting, and yeah, I just love that competitive side of things. And
what a great journey. I mean, you didn't even have the use of your arm at one point, and then you go all the way into MMA and cage fighting. I mean, you know, there's hope for anybody that's struggling with, you know, maybe they've lost the use of something, or maybe they feel like they want to give up just because of their current condition. But you turned it all the way around from not being able to use your arm to black belts and cage fighting and MMA. I mean, that's awesome. That's really good. You know, I like to stop and make sure we don't gloss over that, because that's a pretty awesome accomplishment. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's anything worthwhile is worthwhile. Well, Les Brown says it bad, is worthwhile doing bad until you get good at it. It's like so many people, they give up after 1 week, or they give up after 1 month or 6 months, when, you know, the journey to be a black belt, if it was 6 months, it wouldn't have that sort of weight. And that's what I do in, like, I think I mentioned earlier, a course that I'm doing, that I'll put together with a couple of guys. So that's, I'll talk about that later on as well, but it's knowing roughly how long it's going to take to get to that end goal.
Yeah. We talked.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So knowing that it's going to be a 4, 5, 6 year journey to get to the black belt, you know that in 6 months, you're not going to be halfway along. And that's where I believe a lot of people are doing it wrong. They think that from where they are to that end point is only going to take 6 months. And so when, instead of being here, they're only that far along, that's where they get disheartened and throw their hands up in the air.
Yeah. Too many people, they want that instant gratification. They want it all 100%. Right now, right? You know, very important. Yeah, we talked a little bit offline about this. It was the 3 pillars to high performance course that you're going to be putting out. And I know that our audience will be able to get a special rate on that. So thank you for being willing to extend that. I think right along with that course is how I wanted to ask you about this. So you took everything that you've learned as an athlete, as a professional athlete, you know, competing in high levels, and you've used that to educate people in the corporate space. You've been able to kind of convey some of these principles. Can you share a little bit about that? Like, how does that work? How did you translate that into being able to go in and work with corporations and make those people more high performers that are in those corporations?
Yeah, 100%. And it's so easy. And I'll run through a few little things, but in order to get to that point as well, where I'm comfortable getting up and speaking to you, getting up and speaking in front of hundreds or even potentially thousands of people, again, it's a journey that you have to take. And that started, well, I had a professional boxing fight 2 years ago. But before that, I'd stopped fighting in the cage, because I was going, you know, there's a certain longevity of that. What can I do until the day that I'm in a wheelchair, until beyond that even? And one of it is being able to speak, being able to give my message to the world. And I went and did this course, which was about 6 years ago I started it. And from that, you hone your speaking skills, you hone your message. And mine was all about fitness, raising productivity, raising morale, and if you raise those two, going to raise profitability in the workplace as well. So you have to be able to think of the workplace is like a sports team. You have the owners, the managers, the supervisors, the CEOs. They're the coach and trainer of the team. And the employees, they're the players. So what can I bring from the sports world that can help the players and the coaches? And that was my 5 steps towards improved vitality. So if you can raise your energy, you raise the vibe around you, and create that tight-knit team, people are willing to go more and do more for others than they are for themselves. And it just lifts everyone up. So the 5 steps, I'll just run through it quickly.
Yeah, please do.
Snapping into action. So creating rituals to snap into action. It's like you're about to go for the fight and the referee goes, snap. You can't waste that 10, that 15 seconds, not even minutes before you snap into action. So it's giving you routines and rituals that you can implement straight away to snap into action. Then the second step is nap. So we're not designed to work 24/7, 365. And people are burning out because of their mobile phones, because of this never having any downtime, ever having this time away from work. So knowing how, when, and why to nap effectively. And that can even be having a lunch break, leaving the office, going for a walk, getting the blood pumping, doing the Pomodoro technique where you work intensely on one thing for 20, 25, 30 minutes, and then you get up and move. It's working in that cyclic format. So you work, get up and move, work, get up and move.
Okay, so snap, nap. Okay, I'm with you now. Okay.
Snap, nap, tap, which is tap. It's if something isn't working, you're not going to keep running through that brick wall. You tap in jiu-jitsu or in wrestling. If I'm getting armbarred and they're trying to hyperextend my elbow, I can either have my arm get broken or I can tap and learn from it. So it's being able to step back, learn, grow, and evolve. So you don't keep getting caught in that armbar. In business, you don't keep doing that thing that's costing you money. You don't keep going down that avenue. You have to tap and evolve. So you learn from it. You grow each time you tap.
Okay. Snap, nap, tap. Okay. All right. What's next? Clap. Okay.
Celebrate. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate the team. Because as we were talking about before, people are looking for negative things. They want to catch people doing something wrong, as opposed to catch them doing it right. Right.
Okay. So you got to recognize, you got to give recognition for the things you want to see more of. Yes, absolutely.
100%. That's it in a nutshell. And if you get everyone celebrating, like the teams celebrate, the corporation celebrating, it's going to bring people together. Because as I explained before, like I'm a competitive guy. I don't do things half-assed. But when I was playing football, we had our most successful time when we all came together. We trained hard. We played hard, but we played together. Because we always celebrate the effort, both in training and on the field and outside of the game together. Like we used to hang out a lot. So it's bringing people together with a celebrate.
Okay, so now we're snapping, we're napping, we're tapping, we're clapping, and here we go. Number 5
is recap. This is all about continuous, never-ending improvement in everything you do. Like with this, I'll watch over this and I'll go, what worked, what didn't work, what can be better next time. In sports, in football, in fighting, like when I was coaching football as well, I'd take down notes, write down what worked and what didn't. Then all of the coaches, we'd come together and we'd watch the video because we all see things slightly differently. Which is why it's good to get different viewpoints, different opinions. So we write down what we feel worked, what we feel didn't, but we're doing it from the grandstand. We're doing it from watching the TV. We need to do it a third time, this time with the players. And the players get a handout of the sheet, what we feel worked and what didn't work. And this also opens lines of communications, not top to bottom, but more importantly, bottom to top. So we want the players to tell us from the ground level, from ground zero. What worked? Yes, we do want to do that, but more importantly, we want to know what didn't work.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good. I like to say that the training sessions or a sales process, if it is in your company, it's not over until you've had a chance to assess, hey, how did that session go? Or how did that sale go? What could I have done different? And, I think of sales as service, so it's like, how could I have served that person better? Right. Very good. Very good. You're talking about, learning from different things and evolving and recapping and things such as that. I was reading, as I was reading about you, about this saying, practice makes permanent. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And that's where people have it so wrong, because people often say practice makes perfect. And it doesn't, because we never want to hit the point of perfect, because once you've hit there, where else are you going to go? But practice makes permanent. Because say, let's use a squat as an example. If you're constantly, as you come down, your hips are shifting. And if you don't have someone there, which is why you want a coach, you want a training partner that can point that out to you, that can get it from a different perspective, your muscle patterns are going to use that exact pattern each and every time. And progressively, it's going to be harder to get it coming down straight. So practice makes permanent, but if you want to get as close to perfect practice as possible.
So perfect practice can make perfect, but practicing the wrong way can make for a permanent dysfunction, if you will, unbalance.
So whether that's in weight training, whether that's in business, if you're doing the wrong thing right from day one, imagine how hard it's going to be to change, because by then it's become habit. In 18 months, 2 years, if someone goes, David, Travis, you've been doing this wrong. And you go, but I've been doing it for 18 months. How hard it is to change that around. Yes.
It just gets ingrained. So, we're talking about working with these corporations, and, you just gave us, a good little talk on 5 steps right there. When I was reading about you, you said that being a CEO, which I'm particularly interested in because I'm a CEO. So you said being a CEO could be like compared to training like an Olympian. I think that's how it was put. Why being a CEO can be like training as an Olympian. Tell me about that, if you would, or, tell our audience about it, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you're a CEO, you have to be mentally switched on, and it's same sort of thing. You can still use a Pomodoro technique. You do have times when you have to be able to switch off, but you think about the amount of mental energy that you have to run a business, how much physical energy you need to run a business. A lot of people see people that are management, C-level executives or CEOs and go, oh, they've got all nice and comfy and cushy, because they've made it to the top. They don't. They're expending more energy and more hours than a lot of people combined, because they have an invested interest in it as well. And I've been lucky enough to train a few Olympians as well. And you just have to look at the mindset that both an Olympian has and a CEO has. And they both have to be switched on in their field. So if you're a CEO of a tech company, you don't have to know about the integral parts of a fitness company unless you're a tech company working with that fitness company. Or if you're a tech company working with a beautician, you don't need to know about the running of that business. You need to know how they can integrate things. It's like with the Olympians that I worked with, they were speed walkers. They don't have to worry about what the shot putters are doing. They don't have to worry about what the swimmers are doing. They want to look around and see who's the best in your sport. CEOs look around, who's the best in their industry. What can you model from them? What can you take and what can you discard from what you're currently doing? So it's all about, and that's where recap comes into it as well. It's not just sticking into that like nice little bubble. And no CEO that I'm aware of is comfortable sitting in that bubble, because the world, especially with the internet, is traveling so fast that if you stay like that, you get forgotten about.
Yeah, I've always believed in mentors and masterminds, and of course, I'm a big reader, and I like to listen to different things, because you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you want to level up your game, you need to look at people that are playing on that higher level. It seems like too, you're really indicating, just how important the energy is for a business person to perform at high levels. So with that means, well, what does it mean, David? Is it supplementation? Is it a good exercise routine? Is it a good morning routine? Is it everything? Like, what do you do when you're working with these guys? What do you do to make them better performers and increase their profits?
100%. For me, it's a combination of everything, because you can't have a brilliant morning routine and then eat rubbish throughout the day, because a lot of people, they have the high fat, high sugar lunch. They might have a big donut or a big piece of pizza or just something that's unhealthy, and wonder why they get that 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. crash, because their blood sugars are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in energy. Is one of the few things, one of the very rare things. The more you do it, the more you get.
Mm-hmm.
So it's constantly moving your body. It's getting outside, going for that walk. I think it's Apple, where they're big on doing the walking meetings. So
right.
You're outside, and it's a good way to get the brain moving as well. And it's also non-confrontational, because if you're walking with someone, you're not face to face like that. It's more like they're an ally.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So you can talk about things that are uncomfortable if you're facing someone when you're going for a walk. And a lot of people, they do feel uncomfortable when they're face to face with people, because they see it as that, as opposed to, we're on the same team. We're all going that direction. So yeah, 100%. The way you start the morning gives you momentum for the rest of the day. But you can't start the morning with a flurry and then not do anything and then expect to still be going well at 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. I love, like I mentioned before, using nap, where during my lunch break, I put my headphones on and I put a guided meditation on, and I completely zen out.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives your brain time to calm down. Mm-hmm. So that's a big part of it. It's not constantly going like that hamster on a wheel.
Right.
It's you work hard, then you relax. Work hard, relax. You work in that cyclic format. You also have to give yourself, most people are chronically dehydrated. You know that as well from training people. People, you go, how many drinks have you had today? You go, well, I've had 4 coffees and 1 tea.
Right.
But what about water? Because caffeine is a diuretic. Mm-hmm. So most people are chronically dehydrated and wonder why they're not performing how they should. So it's you look at diet, the amount of hydration that they've got, the amount of movement that they do, which is why like pedometers are really good, because just moving, walking, getting up, instead of sending an email to someone that's in the office down the end, get up, get moving, and go and see them face to face. Because yes, you may want that paper trail, but it's so much better if you can throw ideas off each other and then go, okay, I believe I've got it. And it's also a way to clarify that you're both on the same page. Because we could have a conversation, you interpret it one way, I interpret it some way completely different. Mm-hmm. So then in order to keep a paper trail, I'll go back to my office and send an email and go, just making sure this is what we were speaking about and that you understand it and I understand it. So
very good.
It entails everything. Recovery as well is a big part.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've heard you mention this too several times. It seems like you are not only an advocate for overall wellness, because, how healthy you are is obviously going to make a big difference in your productivity, your profitability, just everything that you're doing, the morale of your company, therefore your culture, different things such as that. But I like how you keep on referring to the Pomodoro. Did you say Pomodoro? How do you say
Pomodoro. Yeah.
Pomodoro method, where you're hyper vigilant, you're hyper focused on one thing for a certain given period of time. Because I've heard this say, if you think you're good at multitasking, you're not really being good at anything, right? So
definitely.
Yeah, get focused on that one thing. and then, do really well at that for a period of time, then allow yourself to kind of give that little rest cycle or that movement cycle. Really good. You have this course, course, 3 Pillars to High Performance. It seems like you have a lot of great information to share. You're already sharing it. Thank you for being so generous with our audience. But when it comes to this course, can you kind of give us the info on that? What would people expect from taking the course? What would they learn, or what would it be about?
Yeah, so what it's all about is it's all delivered online, because I used to do this course before the first lockdown, the lockdown of the world. So, and doing it face to face as well, it's only local. So I brought together some guys, and we created a company, Phenom Leap Education. And what we did was we took this course and put it online. So it's an 8-week online course where the 3 pillars are creating your own unique roadmap. Like I was saying before, a lot of people don't aim anywhere at all. So they don't have that end goal in mind. But even if you do have your end goal in mind, you have to know where you are. So this asks you questions of where are you? So in order to get to here, am I starting from here? Am I starting from here? Am I starting from here? Because each different location, you're going to go in a different direction to start off with. So the first pillar is creating your own unique roadmap. And that also entails how long is it going to take to get from here to here? Is it a 6-month, a 12-month, a 3-year, 5-year project?
Like you had to figure out with the Wing Chun.
Yeah, 100%. Right. And that's where with the whole martial arts system as well, it breaks it down for you. Like people don't realize it. It breaks it down for you in bite-sized chunks, because you don't go white belt, black belt. You go white belt, blue, white, blue, blue, brown, 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 black, black. So each step along the way, you're getting better at the sport. You're becoming more of the Wing Chun athlete. Same as with jiu-jitsu. You have white, blue, and you have all the stripes in between. And it's just breaking it down. Like with goals, it's too much to think that you're going to get to here from here. But if you get to there, and then you get, it creates a steps. It creates that ladder for you to climb, and giving you an idea of how long it's going to take. Is it 2 years? In jiu-jitsu, it's a lot slower because there's so much more movements to go. Like if someone has an underhook compared to an overhook, your game is completely different. So there's a lot of little nuances in the ground fighting, same as in submission wrestling. It breaks it down.
I like your course, the way that, you mentioned it like a roadmap, but it sounds like ultimately what we're doing in the beginning, and this reminds me a little bit of Brendan Bouchard, when he gave the 6 habits of high performers. He said, the first thing that you have to do is, I think this was habit number 1, you have to seek clarity. And so it seems like, you're asking people in your course, because maybe there's some people listening right now. It's like, well, I want to know what the pillars are to high performance. I want to be a high performer. But step 1, what you're saying is in the course, we're going to help you to get clear on, what it is that thing that you're after, where you want to go, where you want to perform well at or in, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And also once you create your roadmap as well, if you're going along the way towards a goal and you intentionally want to go off, like you might have something where you put that on hold for a little bit, go there and then come back and then go back on it. So the roadmap is that first pillar. So it also, like I said, it gives you a timeline. It allows you to look at people that have been there and done that, and you're looking for where they've fallen down, so obstacles that may come along the way. And that leads into the second pillar, which is following the footpath. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has been reinvented. Whatever you want to do, someone's done what you want to do, or they've done something very similar. So it's like Bruce Lee's great philosophy, take what works, discard what doesn't. So you want to see people that are successful at where you want to be, not where you are, because you're already successful at where you are. You want to get up here. See people, and the more you can study them, the more you can see the little micro habits that they do. Not the big things necessarily, but the little things lead to the big things. and then you practice what they're doing. If it's basketball, do you shoot like that, or do you get your elbow pointing towards the basket? And you might look at Steph Curry. How does he shoot his 3-pointers so accurately? How much training does he do? Does he have to hit 200 shots before he moves on? Or does he just shoot one and go, hey, I'm brilliant? What does he do in the weights room? What does he do for his nutrition? What does he do for his recovery? Same as in business with online courses. I'm not the first person to do that, but it's seeing who's done it and who's done it successfully. What did they do? What marketing did they do to get their message out there? And then the more you research them, the closer you can get to it. And you take what works and you discard what doesn't.
Yeah, I like what you're saying here. It sounds like pillar number 2, as I kind of summarize it in my mind, is that we can't get to the next level with the same level of thinking that got us here, right? So you have to, too often, people are just asking, hey, how do I get there? And I'm not sure that's the right question, because the question is really like, who do I need to be to get there, right? Who do I need to become to go to that next level, right? And it might mean, changing your thinking. It might mean opening yourself to new ideas. It might mean what you were describing earlier, becoming a more healthier person all around, so that you can have that physicality, that energy to get to that next level, so that's really good. So pillar number 1 sounds to me a bit like, I'm going to get really clear on what it is I want. Pillar number 2, I'm going to learn to see how people are accomplishing what I want to accomplish, so that I can become the next level type of person that can accomplish that thing, right? Am I getting it right?
Oh, 100%. And like you say, you have to change your thinking. You have to change your mentality of, the fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And people that are in the fixed mindset, you can change. You can get, because I like to point people in the right direction. It's not for me to tell them, because when you tell people something, they put up a roadblock. But if you give them information and they go read about the possibility of the growth mindset, then hopefully that will open their mind up. And if you ask them the right questions, a lot of times it's really asking people, like in coaching, asking people the right questions to get them to think about it from a different angle. So then they can go across to the growth mindset and go, it just becomes, the world opens up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third pillar is the 5 steps towards improved vitality that I mentioned before, the snap, nap, tap, clap, recap. Because if you have these other pillars and yet you're a little bit down, a little bit out, you're not going to have the energy and drive to go forward. And that's normally when I do these as well, I'm outside. It's just, it was too windy today to be outdoors. But a big thing as well is emotion is led by motion. So the posture, the way that you sit, the way that you stand affects the way that your mind is, which affects your performance. So if you're slumpy, your performance is slumpy. But even sitting, I like to,
Yeah, you make me want to sit a little taller right now. I'm already straightening up. Yes.
It is. And it's funny because this is part of what I talk about when I go to corporates. I talk specifically about the 5 steps. I talk about that, and you see everyone in their seats go.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
of
you
course.
can feel everything lift from that as well. And with the course as well, we don't stop at the 3 pillars. There's a few supporting structures as well. And the first one is no excuses. We all have excuses. I don't have time. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't know this person. I don't know that person. But it's about reframing excuses. You don't have time. What I do is I get people to write a weekly diary just for 1 week. Every day, write down what you do for every half an hour and tell me that you don't have time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a time journal. So important. That's the toughest thing about, for us as trainers. My background is as a trainer. I still like to coach people today. However, the toughest thing to get people to do is food journal. 80% of the results come from nutrition, but everybody wants to work out to get the results. And people want to tell you that they don't have time. But when in truth, if they were to analyze their time, I think the average person spends 2 to 3 hours a day on social media. Also, the average person does several hours a day of TV watching. And so it's like, well, I don't have time. Well, wait a second. Somehow you found time for
6 hours.
Yeah. If you put a little tracker on your phone, it would tell you that you've been on social media for 3 hours, but you don't have time for a 20-minute workout. You know, I mean, like, wait a second,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah, because then it comes down to priorities. Because I was told that there is a way you can go into settings and you can see how much time you spend on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, if you ask a lot of people, they're too scared to do that. Because like you say, they do a stupid amount every day on social media, when if they were to, like you mentioned before, that you're an avid reader.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they read something that's going to help them move forward, if they go and do that training that's help them going to move forward, if they do an online course, a self-education to help move them forward, if they don't have time, their priorities are all skewed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good. Really good. Okay. So you said other supporting structures. One supporting structure is no excuses.
No excuses. Yeah. Building up your confidence. Because I can have the best course, which I believe the 3 pillars of course is the best course. I put my heart and soul into it. Imagine if I was to come across you and go, you know, I've got this fantastic course. I think you're going to get benefit from it. Like, if I don't back myself, how can I expect anyone else to do it for me? Yeah. So you need to have that confidence. And a lot of it is, because I like doing this meditation as well, where people go, I don't know what to do. I don't have the confidence. You go, what would the man or woman in the distance do? So it goes into like a guided meditation of, you think about you're sitting on a bench at a river. You can feel the breeze, and over there you see someone that's where you want to be. You see someone that's being successful, and I go through it for a few minutes, getting them into the right mindset, and it's them.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have a conversation with them, and you go, "What did you do?" So it's not you. So it's ask a question. If you don't know what to do, what would you do? Yeah,
it's like getting connected to your higher self, right?
Yes, very much so. And cool. It's funny, a lot of times, like with me as well, with this course, it was, okay, how do I do it? And then I did it, and like myself talking back to me said, do it. Just do it, because, and that comes into the last supporting structure, which is execution. Because you can have all of these tools of the trade, you can have all of this knowledge there, but if you don't execute, then it's like having a gun and you're aiming it at that target, and yet you never pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Right. I'm doing a video about that at the moment, where you've never hit any target that you've never thrown at.
Wow, really good.
You could be someone that's blind, but if you're throwing it, and someone might turn you a little bit, throw it, and they'll go a little bit harder, a little bit higher. Eventually, they're going to hit the target, but you can have all the skills and see the target beautifully. But if you never throw it, you're guaranteed not to hit.
It's like the 3 frogs on a log type of story, right? They were all talking about jumping in. One decided to jump in, one was thinking about it. One was talking about it, who jumped in. Nobody, because even the one that decided still had to jump, right? So just very
100%.
Yeah. So all right. So now I'm sure that everybody's interested. And by the way, in the little time that I've known you, I know that there is no way that you would put out anything less than an excellent product. So for the people that become interested in this course, where would they go to find out more?
Yeah. So what they can do is they can go to our website, which is Phenom Leap. PhenomLeap.com.au, and they can find out there. And like I said, I spoke to my team earlier today, and they said that for your listeners, we're going to give them 20% off for the next week. So once for that 7 days only, because we thought about doing it for longer, but then people constantly put it off. They have those excuses. I don't have time. I don't have this. I don't have that. Whereas if you put it into a constricted time, well, then they're either going to do it or they're going to give up. So that's 20% off.
Okay. So say that website one more time, if you would.
Yep. Phenom Leap, Phenom. Like it's like.
Okay, I see it. If you guys watch the video, it's right there on the shirt. Phenom Leap. PHENOMLEAP, just like you're taking the leap. Take the leap. All right. There you go.
Because that's exactly what it is, .com.au. Because, and the reason we came up with that name is you don't walk into a phenomenal lifestyle. You don't even run into it, but you have to take that leap.
Mm-hmm.
It's like taking that leap of faith. Steve Harvey says it best when, you have to jump off that cliff if you're going to soar.
Okay.
Originally, yes, you're going to go down. It's like, if any of you guys have ever been hang gliding, you run off the cliff and then you go down first. But that's just giving you momentum in order to pick up and soar.
Yes. My wife and I did some paragliding off the cliffs of La Jolla not too long ago. And yeah, it was just like that. So if people want to follow you, David, if they want to, get more of you or just hear some of your inspiration, are there any social media links or channels or whatever that you'd like to share?
Yeah, for sure. On YouTube, again, it's Phenom Leap. So you just search in the Google bar and you'll see it's a silhouette of me leaping across, which we actually took at the Blue Mountains in Sydney, Australia, jumping across. It wasn't a massive cliff, but it was big enough and it was a long way down. So that's the logo of it. Also on LinkedIn, just search for David Lindsay. That's where I do a lot of my stuff for this, is mostly just YouTube and LinkedIn.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, it's normally our course is $199, but for your listeners, for the week only, they're going to get 20% off. So that's $159.20. And the code as well, I'm sure you put it in somewhere underneath, but it's PL for Phenom Leap and then Overcomers.
Okay. All right. So PL Overcomers, that's how you get your 20% off. And to be honest, David, I mean, this sounds like a life-changing course. I thought you were going to say it was like $1,000. So, this is something that's very affordable for people to do if they're looking to go to that next level and get the kind of guidance and get the kind of coaching that gets you there. So thank you, David, for everything that you've shared with our audience today. Any final words for our listeners?
Yeah, and a big thing you said then is, like, because we have put our heart and soul into it. And I know with courses that I've done where they've been 5,000, 10,000, whatever, like super expensive. And that is a barrier. So that's why we decided to go low, so that it's affordable. We still put everything into it, a lot of value into it. And feel free as well, if you do the course, if your listeners and viewers do the course, to email me. And if they have any questions, me and my team, we're open to help people to take their life to that level.
That's
so
awesome.
Ordinary is just, we don't accept that from ourselves, and we want to give everyone the opportunity to raise their standards.
That's awesome. Go live a phenomenal life, Overcomers. There it is. Thank you, David, for being on the show. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Overcomers podcast, sponsored by Journey 333. When I am not hosting the Overcomers podcast, I am working at one of our fitness franchises so that I can continue to help people overcome adversity on a daily basis. That's right. People come to the Journey 333 fitness franchises because they want a coach in their life. They want somebody to help them overcome the adversities of life, motivate them to higher levels of greatness, bring out their potential, help them lose weight, get off medications, fight depression, fight anxiety. That's what we do on a regular basis. If you feel like you want your life to be about helping more people to overcome their adversities, if you feel like you're an overcomer and you want to create more overcomers, then maybe owning a Journey 333 franchise would be for you. To find out more, go to www.journeyfitness333.com.